Signed your name, now the bill won't stop.
Big promises, but the truth got dropped.
It's the enrollment trap, but we're fighting back.
If they sold you lies,
You can cut those ties, borrow a defense, take your power back. The enrollment trap.
Welcome back to the Enrollment Trap. I'm Frank.
And I'm Michelle. Really glad you're here with us today.
This week we're diving into something that sits underneath almost every borrower story we hear. Something that explains why so many people ended up in schools that were already failing, already under investigation, already known to be harmful.
We're talking about the collapse of oversight. Not one mistake, not one bad actor, a whole system that stopped protecting borrowers.
And if you've ever wondered, how did this happen to me? Why didn't anyone warn me? This episode is for you.
Absolutely. So let's talk about what oversight was supposed to do. Starting with the basics, oversight was supposed to be the guardrail, the thing that kept schools honest.
Right. The Department of Education, accreditors, state regulators, each one had a role. In theory, they were supposed to verify job placement claims, check accreditation status, monitor complaints, shut down schools that lied, protect students from predatory practices.
And that's the part that hurts for a lot of borrowers because you walked into the schools believing someone had checked, like someone had vetted them, someone actually had your back.
And you weren't wrong to believe that. Oversight was supposed to be the safety net.
But that's not what happened.
So let's talk about how the collapse actually happened, because it wasn't sudden. It was slow, intentional, and layered.
First, there was political pressure. Years of deregulation, years of let the market handle it, years of weakening the rules that protected borrowers.
Then you had the accreditors. These are private organizations paid by the schools they oversee. That's a conflict of interest baked right into the system.
And when accreditors don't enforce standards, schools stay open long after they should have been shut down.
Add to that the Department of Education not enforcing its own rules, not investigating complaints, not acting on red flags.
And borrowers walked straight into harm, not because they were careless, not because they should have known better, but because the system that was supposed to protect them just didn't.
Oversight didn't just weaken, it collapsed.
So, what borrowers experienced, let's talk about what that collapse looked like from the borrower's side, because that is where the blog post this week really hit home.
Borrowers experienced false job placement rates, inflated salary claims, promises of accreditation that didn't exist, pressure tactics, emotional manipulation, hidden costs, programs that didn't lead to licensure.
And the emotional harm is real. Gosh, the shame, the confusion, the why didn't anyone warn me? I know I felt that deeply. That's not borrower failure, that's oversight failure.
Exactly. Borrowers internalized harm that wasn't theirs to carry, and borrower defense exists because the government finally acknowledged that oversight failed.
You weren't supposed to catch the lies. That's the thing. Oversight was supposed to catch them for you.
So what's the human cost of oversight failure? Let's slow down here because this part matters. Oversight failure didn't just cost borrowers money, it cost them years.
Years of lost time, years of lost income, years of believing they failed, thinking they should have known better.
And that's the part that breaks my heart because borrowers didn't just lose financially, they lost trust in themselves.
Exactly. And that's why clarity matters. That's why borrower defense matters. That's why we have this podcast and it exists for others who are in the same situation.
What accountability could look like. So, what does accountability look like now? What does it mean to rebuild oversight?
Basically, it means stronger enforcement. It means transparent school data, shutting down programs that lie. That's a big one. Listening to the borrowers is huge. And it also means centering harm, not the paperwork.
And it means using borrower defense the way it was intended, as a tool to repair harm caused by oversight collapse.
Borrowers deserve accountability and clarity. They deserve repair. So, what borrowers can do do and how to push for change. Let's talk about something really important here. Oversight collapsed. That's obvious. But that doesn't mean borrowers are powerless. There are things people can do to push for change, even if it feels like the system is too big or too slow.
And I want to say this clearly. None of this is about fixing the harm on your own. That's not your job. But borrowers have a voice. And when that voice is organized, it becomes pressure. And pressure is what forces oversight to work.
Exactly. So let's walk through a few things borrowers can do right now, things that actually make a difference. With me, whether it's with advocacy groups, journalists, or safe communities, your story matters. And for me, talking about it, explaining my story, finding other people that were in the same situation I was. Maybe they went to the same school, maybe they were in the same circumstance I was when before I even started school. Reaching out and finding others to talk about it was probably my best effort to get to where I'm at right now because I was just out in the world by myself and I had all this shame and all this embarrassment and felt like I was in a total trap and I couldn't get out of it. And I know a lot of borrowers right now, because of the SAVE Act going away, it's almost like reliving that time period again because the compounding interest of the loans, even if you paid on it, that a number just kept growing and growing and growing. And I didn't know where to turn. I had nobody really to talk to. So I had to find the resources through social media. And that's when I found all the Facebook groups. Now we have all kinds of platforms, but you still have to be very careful where you get your information and make sure you never ever pay anybody to help you.
So when borrowers share their stories, patterns emerge, and those patterns are what regulators and policymakers pay attention to. Your story isn't just a story, it's data. And then file borrower defense, even if you're unsure. Every application tells the Department of Education this school caused harm.
And when thousands of borrowers say the same thing, it becomes impossible to ignore. So let's report misconduct to state agencies. That's probably the best thing to do right now. Your state attorney general or consumer protection office does investigate, and they rely on borrower complaints to know where the problems are.
And when states take action, it often triggers federal action. Now, transparency or support transparency and accountability efforts. You don't have to be an expert. Just staying informed and sharing accurate information helps counter the misconduct that keeps borrowers stuck.
And like I said earlier, joining borrower communities, change doesn't happen from the top down. It happens at a grassroots level when borrowers connect, compare experiences, and realize that wasn't just me, that was systematic.
And community is power, and borrowers have more of it than they realize. There's so many opportunities out there between the Reddit subs, the various Facebook groups, this Discord. There's so many resources out there that no one should feel alone in this journey. If you know someone or you see someone posting about it, recommend the main borrower defense Facebook group or this Discord because those of you who are here and who have been here know sort of the support that you feel just talking with others within this Discord. It's just so beneficial, I think, emotionally to be part of a community where you don't have to worry, do people understand what I'm feeling, what I'm going through? So I think that's really the big part is the community because your friends, your neighbors, your family, they're not going to get it like the folks who are in it with you do. We see it on the Facebook group a lot where, as an admin, I see the same things being posted again and again and again. Like the same questions, the same feelings of uncertainty. And it's just nice because we can post one post and everyone knows that, oh, these people understand exactly what I'm going through. And so that's nice. And one thing I
Yes.
do want to mention.
Oh, I was just going to add, it can be embarrassing and triggering to talk about it to your friends. And I totally get, like, I went the last 20 years and I never really talked about it to anybody. But since going through this, just in the last week, I have my cancer community, and two of my friends that I met through that community, I have connected with, and they see what I post on my Facebook and they've asked me about it. And I asked them, hey, did you go to school and did they lie to you? Did they mislead you? And they're stressed out over this save plan going away and they don't know what to do. And it opened up that conversation where two of my friends, I was able to just have a simple conversation with them and invite them to all the Facebook groups, the Reddit, the Discord, checking out our website, getting the information, and hopefully they can find out if they qualify for borrower defense. I'm pretty sure at least one does. So this big community is certainly grassroots effort, and it's great to find your community, but don't discount actually talking to your friends and family and just bring it up in a way that, it might be a little stressful, but if you could just talk about it a little bit, especially to your friends, you might just find out that they're going through the same thing. And then you can bring them into this world and get them some relief.
I agree with
That
that,
was
but
all.
I think you have to test the waters first with your level of comfort, and that's why these communities are great for that. Like you, Michelle, you didn't talk about it for years. You found the community where you started being able to talk more about it, and now you're to the point where you can openly talk about what you experienced.
Yes,
Sharing your story in a place where you feel safe, and hopefully that's one of these communities. Because I think you have to start in an environment where you feel protected and people aren't going to judge you, right? And no one here,
absolutely.
at least I'm going to say this, no one here better ever judge you for sharing your story, sharing your trials and tribulations of dealing with this debt. If anyone ever does, let me know, or Michelle know, or Steph,
Hmm.
or Leslie, and we'll deal with it, because this is a safe space. It's why we have the application process to join. We try to vet people to make sure that we're not letting in people who are, like, I will tell you, we had someone who tried to join who told us they were a lawyer who worked in borrower defense. And my mind right away went to, they're coming here and they're going to try to talk people in to using their services
Hmm.
to, get their borrower defense. We asked them some questions they didn't answer, and I'm like, okay, they're not getting in,
Yep.
because
Total red flag.
we are the gatekeepers to try. Now, I will say this: occasionally, those bad actors are going to slip through, and when they do, I have no problem with the ban hammer. The other night, we had someone who was going through borrower defense, and we were trying to support them, answer their questions. The person didn't like the answers we were giving them, and they kept asking the same thing over and over, and got to the point where they started saying, "Well, I'm a sweet left behind," and that upset some of our community members. Again, we answered the questions. He didn't like the answers, and he just kept at it, and people were starting to get a little aggravated. So I made the decision. I'm not going to have anyone come in here and disrupt the family that we've built. We're always going to give you honest answers, or if we don't have the answers, we're going to point you to where you can get the honest answers. We're not going to lie to you because it's what you want to hear. We're going to tell you the facts. And if you don't want the facts, then we're not the community for you. We are going to be fact driven. And again, if we don't know the facts, we're going to point you to where you can get those facts. We really pride ourselves in trying to make this a safe space. Start by sharing your story here with people, like how you're feeling, what you went through. And I think as you're able to do that and get more comfortable, you can then, like Michelle said, share your story out to others when you're at that point where you're comfortable and you realize there's no shame on you. This was nothing you did. It's not a reflection of your intellect. It's not a reflection of your gullibility. It's a reflection of a system that was created to do this to you. And you are the victim. You did nothing wrong. And I think that's the hardest part for a lot of people to accept.
I carried that for so long, and the first time I could actually talk about it was when I was in San Francisco, and I cried. I
Hmm.
I snotted all over myself.
Well, better
And
yourself than somebody else.
right, yes, yes. But it was like it just opened the door to all of this, to everything that I'm doing today. It just opened it released that shame and guilt just to be among other people and hear their stories. It wasn't just about me. Like I was a blip compared to everybody else. And it wasn't even about comparing like who had it worse or anything. It was we all suffered in some sort of way at some sort of level that affected our lives. And we came together to talk about it and share and support each other. And that's exactly what we did. And it was like a very healing experience for me. And I want to bring that personally. I want to bring that to wherever I can through any of these platforms or through the podcast or wherever. Me talking about it, if I can just help someone get through all the negative feelings behind it to a point where they understand that it wasn't them, then I mean that's a win in my book.
I think from what I feel there's two groups of people that are more hesitant to speak up. The ones that have really large loan balances and the ones who have what they consider are really small loan balances, right? Because I think the people that have the really large loan balances have a greater sense of internalized shame because how did I
Mhm.
get duped for this much money? Again, that shame is not realistic. And I think the people that have the small amounts sit there and go, well, it's not that bad. So, I really have no right to feel this way about it or whatever. And I think what people need to understand, take the dollar amount out of it, right? It doesn't
Right.
matter if it's $1,000 or $1,000,000. You were defrauded, and all of us can understand the defrauded aspect of it. That level, these recruiters build a rapport with you, right? They act like they're your best friend, and
Mhm.
they build up a level of trust. You find out after you graduate that this person didn't give a crap about you. You were a job for them, and now you start really kind of questioning your own judgment of people. Like, well, how
Mhm.
did I fall for this?
You
These people
totally
are
gaslight
trained.
yourself.
These people are trained to manipulate you psychologically. That I think if there's nothing else I can convince people of is to stop internalizing that shame because
Mhm.
was not them. It's the schools. It's the system. They all conspired against each and every one of us to get us to where we are today. And you are no more guilty of what happened to you than you would be if you were walking down the street and someone mugged you, right? Like you're not guilty. And I think that is the hardest lesson I think for a lot of people is because it's so easy for us to blame ourselves.
And I
And
think that's why a lot of people look at the word forgiveness when a lot of people refer to this student loan forgiveness, take it so personally because we did nothing to be forgiven for.
right.
And I know that's huge. That's huge in our world right now. And a
Yes.
lot of people are just misinformed about it. They think that's what it's called, but they don't understand the implication, the negativity that's behind it. And, all we can do is just try our best to say, hey, it's not the whole borrower defense system isn't a forgiveness because we did nothing to be forgiven.
Right.
It's a discharge. And hopefully we'll spread that message and people will catch on.
Yeah, and
And
that's all we can do is just keep repeating the
mhm,
message and again, trying to build that trust within the communities that people feel safe, sharing their experiences, sharing how they're feeling about it because no one's going to, disregard your feelings or how you're dealing with it emotionally. You're free to, feel how you feel and hopefully we can take you from it's my fault to no, these people targeted me and did this to me and it's not my fault. And that's where I hope a lot of these folks can get to, that realizing it's not them.
yes,
But
we'll keep trying.
that's all we can do. But
Yeah.
hey, if you're listening and you're not in our Discord community, let us know. We'll get you the link. It's a calm, supportive space where you can learn at your own pace.
If you're with us live on the Discord, thank you for staying around and continue to stay. We're going to open up the floor for questions in just a moment.
Thanks for being here. And remember, Oversight failed you. You didn't fail.
And we will see you next week. Thanks for being here, guys.
Thanks.
It's the enrollment trap, but we're fighting back. The enrollment trap.